Hello, my beautiful and powerful Scorpio souls. Today's message is not a coincidence. It's a divine intervention, just like the one that shook your heart when someone you deeply loved was suddenly removed from your life. I know the silence, the confusion, the ache that lingers in the spaces they once filled. But what if I told you their exit wasn't a curse? It was a calling. A sacred disruption designed by the universe to clear the path for something extraordinary. Because you, Scorpio, are not meant for half-loves, almosts, or karmic loops. Your soul is here to rise, to be reborn, to walk through fire and emerge in miracles. And sometimes, in order for God to bless you with what your spirit truly needs, He must first take away what your heart thought it wanted. That person wasn't removed to destroy you. They were removed to make room. Room for clarity. Room for alignment. Room for peace. This isn't just about a relationship ending. This is about a divine redirection into your highest timeline. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll no longer see this separation as abandonment, but as activation. So stay with me, because everything is about to make sense. The loss wasn't random. The silence wasn't empty. And the void you feel right now? That's the exact space where the miracle will enter. Let's go deeper, Scorpio. Your soul is ready. Hello again, Scorpio. Let's go deeper now, into the cosmic layers that surround this heartbreak you didn't ask for, but were destined to experience. Astrologically, you are ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, death, and rebirth. Meaning your soul came here to evolve through endings, to be stripped down to the bone so you can rise stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your divine purpose. This isn't just emotional pain, it's a spiritual purge. And if you've recently felt like something has been forcefully taken from you, whether it was a relationship, a deep connection, or a soulmate bond, it's because the universe is responding to an energetic misalignment your human eyes couldn't yet see. The stars above you are shifting, calling you out of cycles that keep you small, attached and wounded, and into a space where healing and divine timing begin to bloom. Scorpio, you are intuitive. You felt this ending coming, even if you resisted it. You knew deep down that something wasn't whole anymore, that no matter how much love you poured into them, the return didn't nourish your soul. And the truth is, the universe cannot allow you to stay entangled in what was never meant to carry your highest vibration. So now, through divine force, you are being separated not because you're unworthy, but because your worth is being protected. The stars are not against you, Scorpio. They're realigning your path to make space for the miracle that only arrives when your heart is finally ready to receive without begging, without chasing, without fear. Keep listening. This is only the beginning. Scorpio, it's time we talk about the illusion of forever. The kind of love you thought would last. The kind that burned so intensely, it convinced you it was destiny. You poured your soul into this person, didn't you? You saw forever in their eyes, felt the weight of every shared moment as if it were carved into fate. But what if that love wasn't meant to stay? Only meant to awaken? Not every powerful connection is meant to be permanent. Some come to mirror our deepest wounds, to reflect the parts of us still aching for healing, still afraid of being alone, still tying our worth to whether someone chooses us. And for Scorpio, whose love runs oceans deep, that illusion can become a trap. You loved them because they saw a part of you that others didn't. But maybe they couldn't hold that part. Maybe they weren't equipped to love you at your depth, not because you were too much, but because they were too limited. You see, when we confuse emotional intensity with divine alignment, we often end up staying longer in love than our soul intended. And when God steps in to remove that illusion, it's not to leave you empty. It's to empty you of the fantasy so you can finally be filled with truth. You didn't fail, Scorpio. You awakened. And sometimes, awakening means saying goodbye to the dream so you can finally live the reality your spirit came here to embody. Don't grieve the loss of forever. Celebrate the return of your clarity. You were never meant to settle for a connection that made you question your worth. What's ahead is not just love. It's alignment. Keep going. Scorpio, I know how deeply you feel, how every loss carves itself into the chambers of your heart like an ancient script, impossible to erase. But what if I told you that this heartbreak, this unexpected ending, wasn't chaos, it was choreography? What if it was God's hand, not punishing you, but protecting you? You see, the divine doesn't always show up in blessings wrapped in beauty. Sometimes the blessing arrives wrapped in heartbreak, disguised as silence, wearing the face of someone walking away. And in those moments when you feel abandoned, discarded, or betrayed, something sacred is actually unfolding beneath the surface. Scorpio, God saw what you couldn't, the hidden energies, the cycles repeating behind your back, the patterns that were quietly draining your soul. He saw the weight you carried, trying to love someone who didn't love themselves, trying to heal someone while breaking yourself. And so he stepped in, not to destroy your hope, but to reroute it, not to leave you lonely, but to free you from the illusion that your healing depended on their presence. Because here's the truth, God doesn't remove without reason. He doesn't take away what you need, only what you're clinging to out of fear, attachment, or unresolved pain. This was never a punishment. It was a pivot, a divine shift that had to happen for you to return to your path, your power, your peace. So instead of asking why they left, ask why you stayed. Instead of mourning the absence, honor the protection. Because this is not the end of love for you, Scorpio. This is the end of distortion. And that's where true healing begins. Scorpio, the miracle you're waiting for cannot enter through a door that's still blocked by what you refuse to release. And sometimes that door is guarded by your ego, not your soul. Your ego wants certainty, control, closure. It wants to understand why someone left, why love didn't last, why all your depth wasn't enough to make them stay. But your soul, your ancient, intuitive, powerful soul, already knows that clinging to what hurts you is not love, it's fear. And miracles don't manifest in fear. They arrive through surrender. This is the sacred threshold where healing begins. When you choose peace over answers, alignment over attachment, freedom over familiarity. It's not that you didn't love enough, Scorpio. It's that you were loving from a space that didn't fully love you back. And no matter how deeply you feel, you cannot force destiny, especially when God is trying to show you a higher version of it. This removal wasn't about rejection. It was about realignment. And the miracle? It's already circling your field, waiting for you to let go of the person, the pattern, the pain that's been anchoring you to your past self. You don't have to fix what broke. You only have to bless it, release it, and trust that what's meant for you is already being shaped in the unseen. When the ego ends, the miracle begins. So breathe, Scorpio. You're not being emptied. You're being prepared. Make space now. Because what's coming won't confuse you, drain you, or ask you to shrink. It will arrive in peace, feel like home, and remind you why the storm had to pass. Scorpio, the universe rarely screams. It whispers. It doesn't always tear something away without warning. Often, it gives you gentle signs first, subtle nudges that something is off, that someone is out of alignment with your soul. But because you love deeply, you might have ignored those signs. You felt the emotional exhaustion after every conversation, the silent void that followed moments of connection, the way your intuition kept saying, something isn't right. And still, you stayed. Why? Because you believed that love could fix it. But divine redirection always begins with discomfort, the growing distance, the strange dreams, The numbers you kept seeing minus 111, 444, 911, those were more than coincidence. Scorpio, they were your soul's way of crying out, preparing you for the shift. And then came the breaking point, the argument, the silence, the ghosting, the goodbye you never saw coming but always felt. That was the universe roaring after you'd ignored the whispers. But not out of cruelty, out of compassion. You were outgrowing the space you kept trying to shrink into. And God, in His mercy, intervened. So if you're asking why it all fell apart, the answer is, because it was never whole to begin with. It only looked that way when viewed through the lens of longing. Scorpio, what falls apart under truth is what was built on illusion, and your soul has outgrown illusion. Now, you are being guided toward what is true, steady, divine. Pay attention to the signs. They never lied to you. They were preparing you for something bigger, something real, something written in the stars, not written in your fears. Keep listening. The miracle is getting closer. Scorpio, one of the greatest acts of love you can give yourself is learning to let go without closing your heart. Detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It's the quiet realization that peace is more important than proving your worth. To someone who couldn't see it, you've spent so much time trying to hold things together, trying to fix, to understand, to love harder, but all it did was pull you further away from yourself. Now is the time to return, to call your energy back from the places you left it. Because healing doesn't always happen in the light. Sometimes it begins in the quiet decision to stop bleeding for people who keep reopening your wounds. Scorpio, your depth is sacred, but not everyone deserves access to it. And the one you loved, they were never meant to be your anchor. They were meant to be your awakening. Detachment is the soul's way of saying, I still love, but I no longer abandon myself to keep this going. It's a soft boundary that whispers, I matter too. So how do you begin? You breathe. You stop chasing closure and let peace be your answer. You take back your mornings, your dreams, your future. You write a new story, one where you're not the one always waiting, sacrificing, surviving. Scorpio, the more you detach from what drains you, the more you align with what heals you. And when you finally choose your own peace over their potential, the universe responds, not with silence, but with alignment. You won't have to beg for love in the next chapter. It will flow to you. Because this time, it's coming from a place that sees your soul, not just your scars. Scorpio, you may feel like you've lost something irreplaceable, a connection that once felt like home, a person who held your heart in ways no one else ever did. But let me tell you a truth your soul already knows. What you've lost was never what you truly needed. It was what your wounds were attached to, not what your spirit was calling in. And I know that's hard to hear, because when you love, you don't love halfway. You give all of you, every time, even when it costs your peace. But this time, the cost was too high. This time, the universe stepped in because you started, forgetting who you were without them. Scorpio, your identity is not tied to someone else's inability to love you fully. You are not broken because they left. You are not unworthy because they chose someone else. You are not less than because they couldn't meet your depth. What you lost was a version of yourself that thought you had to fight to be loved. What you're gaining is the remembrance of your worth, the radiant, magnetic truth that you are whole, even when standing alone. And yes, grief will visit, but so will rebirth. So will clarity. So will divine alignment. When something exits your life with force, it's usually because your soul made a silent prayer. Please remove what blocks my peace. And now that the universe has answered, your only job is to not chase what was taken, but to trust what's coming. You didn't lose your forever. You're just being guided toward the version of it that's real, the one that won't require you to shrink, settle, or suffer. Scorpio, do you know what happens after the release? After the tears, the silence, the aching space where someone used to be? That's where the miracle begins. Not in the noise of reconciliation, not in the desperate plea for answers, but in the quiet surrender where your heart finally stops reaching backward and starts opening to the divine. The truth is, miracles don't crash into your life with thunder. They arrive like soft rain after a drought, gentle and undeniable. And they only come when the space has been made. You see, your soul couldn't receive what's meant for it while it was still wrapped around someone who wasn't meant to stay. Their presence took up the space where peace was trying to settle, where clarity was trying to speak, where your next chapter was waiting to rise. But now, that space is sacred. Now, the divine can move freely. And what's coming, Scorpio, is not just healing, it's alignment. It's opportunities that flow without resistance, relationships that nourish instead of deplete, and love that doesn't require translation, begging, or pretending. It's the return of your power, your purpose, your peace. This miracle may look like a person, or it may look like a realization, a breakthrough, a new path that suddenly appears just when you thought all roads had ended. Whatever form it takes, you'll know it's divine because it doesn't confuse your spirit. It calms it. It doesn't rush you. It roots you. So don't run back to what broke you just because it's familiar. Stay open. Stay still. Because this time, what enters your life will be the kind of love that feels like breath, like light, like everything you were always meant to receive. Scorpio, take a deep breath, because this is the part where everything begins to make sense. You didn't lose them. You were released. You were liberated from a connection that could no longer hold the expansion of who you're becoming. And now, in this sacred space left behind, something beautiful is being built. Something your soul has been calling in long before your heart caught up. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Not being abandoned, but protected. The separation wasn't the end. It was the opening. And now, as the dust settles and your spirit begins to rise, you'll start to feel the quiet return of hope, of alignment, of miracles, unfolding in ways you never imagined. Let this be your reminder. The universe never takes without the intention to give greater. So trust it. Trust the detour. Trust the delay. Trust the silence. Because what's ahead is not just a new chapter. It's a new frequency of life. One where you don't chase love. You attract it. One where you don't carry others to your own breaking point. One where your soul is finally met, not just seen. If this message spoke to your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and leave a comment below telling us what you're ready to release or what miracle you're calling in. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more healing guidance, soulful astrology, and powerful messages curated just for Scorpio souls like you. Because here, we don't just read stars, we help you rise with them. You are not alone, Scorpio. Your miracle is closer than you think. Let it in. Let it begin.